Okay, Jake, it's men's floor gymnastics. It's a floor routine that I'll play 2 or 3 times. And in fairness, you've got 10 minutes as everybody else has had to observe and evaluate this performance. Give me a bit of time to write and then I'll show it a second time and then a third time in the 10 minutes. You ready to play it one more time? Yeah. Just tell me when you want me to play it again.
Yeah.
Going to watch it now.
Yeah, one more time.
I'm just going to turn the camera on to you, Jake, and
Yeah.
I'll just introduce the task as well. So you've just observed the performance of the gymnast in the floor routine. I'd like to analyse and comment for the GC for the A-level task of the API, the quality and range of skills, the appropriate level of success demonstrated through these skills, an understanding and awareness shown by the performer in terms of their physical attributes and fitness, as well as tactics and strategy, decisions, compositional ideas, the overall effectiveness and success of the performance, and throughout, if you could justify your comments and observations through referring to relevant PE theory where possible or where you feel appropriate, and finally just identify one major area of weakness within that performance that you prioritise to improve for a long-term development plan. Okay, if you just introduce yourself with name and OCR candidate number and then start.
Jake Johnson, candidate number R629. So when observing the gymnast floor routine, the first skill strength I can identify is his landings on all of his tumbles. So in his landings, he's in a good position with flexion at the knee joint, which is created by the bicep femoris, also dorsiflexion at the ankle joint, which is created by the tibialis anterior. So in this landing position, he's in a strong shape, and also on his tumbles, most tumbles are stuck, so no execution deductions are taken. And on some tumbles, there is a slight arms weakness, is only 0.1 marks taken off his execution score. So not a lot of marks have been taken in this area, so therefore it's a strength. So in the landing position, his feet are short width apart, so therefore stability increases as a larger base of support. But his feet aren't too wide, so that deduction is given. So due to the fact that not much deductions are taken in this area, this will have a positive impact upon his performance, as it will raise the execution score and therefore result in a higher score all round. So another skill strength in his routine is in the first somersault, he uses a straight back somersault. This has got a value of a D, therefore it adds 0.2 marks onto his difficulty score. So in the straight back somersault, due to their straight position in the air, the distribution of mass is higher on the body, so therefore the moment of inertia is increased, so rotation is key when performing this. However, the rotation is created well by the use of the takeoff, so the shoulders are in front of the feet on the takeoff, and his arms stretched. Therefore, so when he takes off, there's a high distribution of mass and a high rate of inertia. So when he does a somersault, his arms are lowered so the distribution of mass decreases and therefore rotation can speed up. So this is a strength as he's able to rotate around well and land the tumble well, resulting in the stuck landing. So this has a good impact on the overall performance of the routine, as his landing is well and rotation is good, so no deductions are taken in this area. Also causes difficulty in the routine as well. Another skill strength in this routine is that he does use on his second tumble an element where he twists forwards, so he uses a straight front full twist. So this has got high value again, which has got a C value, which is not quite 3 marks. So again, building difficulty score more, so increases the top level of difficulty. And also by twisting forward, you're hitting all requirements. So the governing body of gymnastics, the FIG, requires in the code that you must hit certain requirements. So one of these is the twisting forward. So therefore, by hitting this requirement of the governing body, you can add 0.5 attempts on 0.5 marks onto your difficulty value. So again, the difficulty value is increased when he uses the twist on longitudinal axes. So by doing this, he has a good impact on the performance of his routine, as it does build difficulty again, and the skill is also performed well with good leg tension in the air created by the rectus femoris extension at the knee joint and good point of toes, which is plantar flexion. So first tactical strength in the routine is that he uses both single somersaults and twisting. So by using single somersaults and twisting, he's covering all requirements again in the routine. So he's adding more difficulty score, so he's covering 2 requirements in just from these 2 areas. So therefore a whole mark of difficulty added to his routine. And also he consolidates these skills well with good landings and good rotation in both. Despite the forward tumble being quite hard, he still manages to land the tumble well with stuck landing, so no deductions taken in this area. Another tactical strength is that he uses the right amount of tumbles in his routine to stay within the time limit. So in the gymnastics routine, the time limit is 1 minute and 10 seconds. So he uses a good amount of tumble in his routines so that he doesn't go over this time limit and face a penalty. So in all of his tumbles, there's good execution as well. So also by using a smaller amount of tumbles, he's not as fatigued at the end of his routine, so he can still execute the last tumble well, which is a round-off tuck-back somersault. So he uses good plantar flexion in the air, which is point of toe, so no deductions are lost in this area, and also very good landing with good rotation. Another tactical strength is that he does a high difficulty link down the side, so his side tumble, he uses a straight front half to a somersault. So by again using this somersault, it's a B value, so it's adding difficulty to his routine again, which is 0.2 marks. In the air, he's got a very good body tension and leg tension, which is extension of the knee joint and plantar flexion at the ankle joint. Also at the hip joint extension is used, so he's not piking in to make the somersault round at the end due to a lack of rotation. Also by doing this, he covers all corners of the floor, so no deductions are lost for using not all corners of the floor. So also in this somersault, it's due to it being straight, he's also got high moment of inertia due to the distribution of mass, but this isn't a problem as he rotates the skill very well, resulting in a good landing. First fitness strength is a routine, is the use of balance. So in the gymnastics routine, you need a non-acrobatic element such as a handstand or a wide arm handstand. So in the routine, the gymnast chooses to use a handstand. So in this, he does the lift handstand with no wobbles in that or the handstand. So he's got a good balance. Straight arms in the lift, so no deductions are taken due to flexion at the elbow, because he's got good extension at the elbow in this lift. Also, he uses his hands in a good stable position where they're shoulder width apart, so not too wide, also not too close together, so the base of support is quite large, and therefore there's good stability. So another fitness strength in the routine is his static strength. So he does again use the handstand, but he uses the lift handstand to get to the position, which is again the value of an A. So again adding difficulty in this area. So he does a lift handstand, which is in the frontal plane, and again very good tension in the arms. So there is extension at the elbow joint, which is created by the triceps brachii. Does this very well in the routine and limits his deductions. However, a first skill weakness in the routine is on some of the somersaults, such as the straight front full twist, there is a slight leg tension loss in the air. So in the somersault, he does bend his knee slightly, so which is flexion at the knee joint created by the biceps femoris. So So he does do this, perhaps maybe due to a slight lack of rotation, but he does result in this somersault being round or due to an early landing perhaps. But this is a deduction in the routine and will result in marks be taken, maybe not quite 1 mark, not quite 3 marks. So in the overall result of performance, this will decrease the execution score as marks have been taken, and therefore could result in a lower score all around. So another skill weakness is that he doesn't perform any double somersaults in the routine. So in the new governing body code from the FIG, which is International Gymnastics governing body, it states that a double somersault must be performed in the routine to hit all requirements. So by not performing this requirement, he's losing 0.5 marks off his difficulty, and therefore his difficulty is lowered, which will result in a lower score overall. So in the double somersault, you may lack rotation power, therefore, because a double somersault needs more rotation and height, he might not have enough rotation to land the somersault, or maybe he's not practiced his skill enough in training, so the SR bonds aren't strengthened enough. So when he comes to the competition and the arousal is higher, this may not be the dominant response. So also due to maybe a lack of facilities, so he may not be able to consolidate the skills and use operant conditioning and trial and error to be in a safe environment and learn maybe double somersaults to a pit, because he might not have the use of the pit. So another skill weakness is the lack of rotation in some of the somersaults. So in the somersault, such as the straight back at the start, a good landing is used. However, he does need to slightly chuck his head back in the somersault, maybe due to a lack of rotation. So this will result in, again, a deduction on the execution behalf of his routine, and therefore it'll have an effect on the overall performance. His execution will be lowered, and again his overall score will be lower, perhaps leaving him in a lower position and not missing out on medals in the routine. So a tactical weakness in his routine is that he's quite a low difficulty routine, so he doesn't use these high difficulty tumbles such as these double somersaults in his routine and these higher twist elements such as perhaps a double twist backwards. So by doing this it does decrease the difficulty skill, but perhaps these skills have not been consolidated yet and SR bonds haven't been strengthened. But due to the fact that the last tumble only has an A value, he's not hitting all requirements for the routine again, as a D tumble is required as the last tumble to hit all requirements. So which again knocks 0.5 marks off his difficulty score. Another tactical weakness in his routine is that he doesn't use a full length of the floor in the majority of the tumbles. So when he's tumbling across the diagonal on the floor, he doesn't quite go from corner to corner. So by doing this, he's shortening his run up and therefore decreasing power. So when it comes to the tumbles, he doesn't have as much rotation and height in the air, and therefore can only perform these lower value tumbles such as the straight back and the tuck back somersaults, for example, and isn't quite able to perform somersaults such as the double back somersaults, etc. So the effect on the overall performance is that it will lower the difficulty score again, and therefore it may not be quite up there with the top competitors, and therefore missing out on medals and success. So another tactical weakness in the floor routine is that there's quite bad artistic execution. So in his links in the corner moving from one tumble to the next, there is quite bent legs and loss of leg tension and even arm tension when doing this, so it doesn't make the routine look very stylish. And in artistic gymnastics, you're meant to be quite artistic, so this doesn't cover this aspect, so it doesn't impress the judges very much, and therefore gives deductions in this area due to the leg bend, which is again flexion at the knee joint. So maybe 0.1 marks is deducted in this, and for styling the arms maybe another 0.3 marks. So again he's losing quite a lot of deduction in this area for the execution. So the overall impact on the performance is that it will decrease the score overall, and again increases chance of missing out on medals in the routine. Another fitness weakness in his routine is his flexibility. So in the routine, not much flexibility used. It is good in artistic gymnastics to use elements such as the splits in his corner work. However, he doesn't use this flexibility, so there's not much leg separation at the hip joint, which is horizontal flexion, and this can be tested through goniometry, etc., and training flexibility. But due to this, there's again a lack of difficulty in the routine, and therefore the overall effect on the performance is that the difficulty is lowered. So another fitness weakness of the performer is the VO2 max. So as the routine progresses, his tumbles do decrease in difficulty, so therefore he may be fatigued at the end of the routine and not be able to perform these high difficulty tumbles have the power and concentration to perform these at the end. So at the end of the routine, he'll only perform a single tuck back somersault, whereas at the beginning he performed a straight back somersault. So at the end of the routine, if VO2 max was increased, we'll be able to perform high difficulty tumbles such as a double twist backwards, and therefore increase difficulty score. But due to this VO2 max loss and these very basic tumbles at the end of the routine, his difficulty score is lowered, and the overall effect on performance will be that his difficulty score decreases and therefore his overall score decreases. A final fitness weakness of the performer is his explosive strength. So as you can see in the routine, there's not much height in each somersault, which does result in these more basic somersaults being competed, such as the straight back somersault. So a lack of explosive power results in a lack of reactive force from the floor, and therefore lack of height. So a double back somersault may be a bit too far out of this gym match range, as he needs to work on his explosive strength in order to perform these better somersaults. So the overall effect on the performance would be that if he did try and perform these somersaults, he may fail due to the SR bonds not being strengthened in this area, and therefore the dominant response being failure. So it would result in a flawless routine, which would be a loss of the hallmark, and therefore the execution score would be lowered quite drastically, and therefore his overall score would be lowered quite drastically. So the action plan...
Just before you do,
yeah.
I'll just introduce the task to make sure that you get a moment to pause and just consider that you include everything that it expects of you. The final part of the task is to create a viable long-term development plan to improve this one area of weakness that you identify from everything that you just evaluated and analysed there. Within the development plan, you should include aims and objectives for the plan, a timescale for the plan. Tell us why it is appropriate to spend this length of time in improving this one area. Include frequency, duration and focus of sessions, detailed progressive practices and coaching plans. Outline potential adaptations you'd make if you were developing that gymnast, if he made progress at a quicker or a slower rate than you expected at the start, how you would be flexible with your delivery on this development plan, and how this improvement could be measured. Once again, please justify your action plan throughout with relevant application of PE theory, knowledge and concepts. So, I think I'll develop the plan.
So, the weakness that I've chosen to improve for this gymnast in his routine is his rotation and the use of double somersaults in his routine to gain this extra difficulty and hit our requirements in the routine. So, the timescale of the development plan would be 9 weeks, and the target would be to hit double somersaults on the floor square and start adding them to a routine so it can be consolidated and perform in routine competitions and therefore hit these requirements. So in the first 3 weeks, the 1 to 3 weeks of the development plan, we would start with on the floor square, so it is very specific to the gymnastics competition environment due to the correct springs on the floor, etc. So you're going to build up high max on the floor, and you're going to perform his round off tuck back, which he does at the end of his routine, put to high max on the floor. So we'll build these mats up, gradually increasing the height, and therefore prepping to a good height, which will be used for double somersault. So in the takeoff, we will do the round off, and then the takeoff for the double somersault will be in a very tight position with his shoulders in front of his legs and arms up in the air. So at this point, his arms up in the air, which increases the height of the somersault, creating a good reaction force, and therefore in this position, the distribution of mass is quite great. So when he does take off, the tuck position, which is a flexion at the knees, would be created, and flexion of the hip joint would be created, and therefore the distribution mass is decreased, and then the moment of inertia is decreased, so rotation can be increased in the somersault, and therefore multiple somersaults can be added into the routine. So this would firstly be consolidated to the high max of the floor. SR bonds will be strengthened for this on the takeoff, so it becomes more dominant response. So plyometric training would also take place at this to develop power and explosive strength from the floor. So we're going to use 6 stations, and it will be 45 seconds doing the exercise, or 45 seconds not doing the exercise, or moving on to the next station. So it will be preps and exercises such as 2 Yurchenko pads on the floor, which is very specific for the gymnastics again, as you are using the competition environment, which is a floor square. So you would rebound from one to the other, pushing through the ankle joints and plantar flexion at the ankle joint, and building strength and hypertrophy in the gastrocnemius, and therefore increasing the height and power gained from the floor. also increasing leg tension and muscular strength in the rectus and bicep femoris as well. So when you are performing these somersaults, a good leg strength can be a good landing as well. So, however, in the plyometric training, a good recovery is needed. So it'll only be about around 3 sessions a week of this training. However, you will still be training other days a week, but maybe consolidate the other apparatus in gymnastics, due to there being 6 apparatus. So a good recovery is needed for the plyometrics. So nutrition is needed, such as the EIS can provide nutrition advice on how to increase recovery, such as the use of proteins and protein-rich food to repair muscle and for growth. So also, while learning the double back somersault, so at this point we've only prepped the somersault for the height, we've not actually done the double somersault yet. So we do this off a trampoline into a foam pit. So we do the double back there, so using operative condition and trial and error to create good spatial awareness in the skill. So the development of technology in this area, as mean trampolines, etc. have been created, so it's safer to perform these skills and such as into the foam pit, which is a good development. So you can be safe while learning the skill without decreasing the risk of injury also. So while it's doing this, SR bonds will be strengthened again, and therefore when we move to another surface, such as perhaps the floor square after a 9-week period, his dominant response will be that it performs successful and then decreasing the risk of injury further. So also these facilities, such as the trampolines and the pits, they are available at the EIS centres, such as the Wilson National Sports Centre, where there is trampolines into the pit. So the pathway of excellence would mean that at competition grade, performing good routines like this to a good standard would mean that you could get onto the pathway of excellence and then be able to perform at a centre such as this and be able to learn these high difficulty skills. So in the next 3 weeks, which will be weeks 4 to 6, we will move the somersault to the fast track, which is again similar to a trampoline in the screeness, into a foam pit again, so safety is ensured. But it is more like the floor, so you can have a run up into the round-off skill before the somersault, so it is more realistic to the competition environment. So we would again do this in the pit first, which is very similar to the trampoline, so the progress would likely be made. And so he adds mats into the pit when the SR bonds are created. However, if this does result in a slight decrease in performance, it can also be taken back to the first 3 weeks. So perhaps off trampoline again, with the coach landing in to consolidate this further, and again make sure that SR bonds are strengthened. So we would add mats into the pit. So when spatial awareness is quite confident, so he can kick out well in the somersault and practice his landing in the pit, so he knows where the landing is. But also the landing will be quite soft in the pit onto the mats, so there's a very low risk of injury again in this area. So again in these next 3 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, the plyometrics will be continued, but again very sport specific, such as rebound jumps across the floor, across the diagonal floor. So again the spun floor is exact to the competition environment, so he's getting a feeling of this, and the landing at the end will be exact to the tumble. So again, make sure around 3 sessions a week and recovery is needed. So after this is consolidated from the fast track to the maximum thing, we'll move it to the tumble track, which is very similar to the floor square, however just a slightly bit more springier. So if a lack of height is still an issue, then it can be adapted. So the height is generated from the fast track, and therefore it's still the same environment. So again, be done to the pit first at centres such as the Wilson National Sports Centre where this is available to get onto the performance pathway. But just to get used to the springiness of the different surface. But eventually, when the SR bonds are again strengthened, the mats can be added to the pit, so it's very similar to the floor square. So the only difference will be is that it's slightly more springy and a softer landing, but which is again good for minimising the risk of injury. So again, when takeoff, he needs to ensure that his shoulders are in front of the feet on the takeoff with a good stretch position. So height is increasing at this point due to the good reaction force. And then when he moves into a tuck shape, so flexion at the knees, flexion at the hips, and his arms brought down, which is adduction at the shoulder joint. he decreases distribution of mass and therefore decreases moment of inertia, so rotation can be increased and therefore he will be successful at getting a 2 somersaults round. So again, in the next 3 weeks, which would be the weeks 6 to 9 of the programme, he would again move this to the floor square, however to soft landing, that's at first, so the risk is again minimised. The coach will be spotting just in case something goes wrong. So again, by doing this SL on the strength in this area, and it is very specific to the floor square as well, so when he does go to competition it will be a very similar environment. So when the arousal is increased because of the competition environment, the dominant response will be a success to the routine. So we will continue the plyometrics, and then this will be consolidated on the max events are moved out, so he's performing this skill on the floor. However, if he's decreasing performance in this stage, it can also move back to previous preps, such as on the tunnel track to a more streamlined way. Again, can work on the takeoff with a good position, with the shoulders in front of the feet and the good spatial awareness to know when to land and his good landing position. But due to the continued plyometric trainings and the development of the 9-week plan, the legs will be strengthened, and therefore when he is landing, a higher leg strength and hypertrophy in the legs means that he can land these tunnels better and be in a safe environment. So if this is all successful and the skill is successful to the floor square, you can start adding this into the routine. So we may have this first tumble at the beginning of his routine before he develops bigger tumbles, just as it's the hardest tumble first, and therefore when he's fatigued in the routine it will be more dangerous for him. So by doing it first he can be a lot more successful. So as well as doing this in routines, he may perform endurance routines such as the longer but basic tumbles, so therefore he's increasing his endurance and VO2 max, which was one of his weaknesses throughout the training programme. But by adding this skill into his floor routine, it's got a D-value element at this stage, so therefore it is increased by quite considerably from the tuck back somersault, which would be replaced with 0.1 max difficulty. So therefore his difficulty is increasing his overall performance, and therefore he's hitting all requirements in his routines as well. So he's added an extra 0.5 marks onto his routine just for learning one skill. That's finished.
Anything you'd like to add? It's very thorough, it's very fluent. I just want to clarify there's one part, the task that I mentioned at the start, which was about measurement. So I fully understand that you've justified it right the way through, but can you just give a little bit more detail about how you would measure the improvements that you made?
So when measuring the improvements in the development plan, you could see that the plyometric training would increase and the leg strength would increase, such as things like the 1 rep max on the leg press that we use. Also, we could see an increase is by more success rates, so also more tumbles landed than not landed in his routine, and therefore the progression